double check to make sure streams are working, and it looks like both of them are up. We come here to Facebook. I'll just keep an eye on Facebook. So for everybody out there, let's go ahead and get started. It is top of the hour, and the video stream is coming up on Facebook. Looks really good. We got YouTube up. It's going today. And we've even got Facebook comments.
We do. We finally have the Facebook comments.
Yes. All right, everybody. Well, we are top of the hour. We are ready to go. I'm going to kick us over and start off this really exciting live stream. So here we go. All right. Well, welcome to the PoE Texas live stream Converge PoE. A couple of weeks ago, I got an email from a fellow YouTuber who has his own show talking about ham radios. Now, full disclosure, I knew ham radio operators were out there. They're very cool guys, but when I started talking to this guy, I found out there's a whole subculture of super techie radio operators doing crazy things with radio technology, right? Who knew? I was blown away.
I didn't. I have to admit, I did not know.
I was shocked, and of course, the deep nerd in me was intrigued.
Of course.
I had to learn more, and what blew my mind is when he started talking about how he's using Power over Ethernet. So I just had to have this guy on our show. Well, with a lot of begging and a lot of pleading, I convinced him to come onto our show today and reveal to us what's happening with radio technology and how you can participate in it. So with that, let's go ahead and get the show started. All right, for those of you who don't know me, you might not have been coming to the show for the last month, or last 2 months. So we've been up since February.
We could be new to people. That's true.
That's a very good point. So, most of you know me. I'm Tyler Andrews. I'm the head nerd here at PoE Texas, and as always, the lovely Miss Maria Medell.
Oh, thank you. Hi, everyone. So welcome back to the show today, or welcome if you're new. It's the first time. I have a very quick intro today for our guests, since I know that these two are really excited to get that conversation started. So Jason Johnston, his call sign being KC5HWB, has a run on YouTube channel about amateur radio for over 4 years and has been a licensed amateur since 1994. His YouTube channel talks about what is new in amateur radio, so he focuses on new and exciting radios, modes, and equipment for the hobby. So join us in welcoming Jason today.
Hey, Jason, welcome on board.
Hey guys, thanks much for having me. Really excited to be here, and it didn't really take much arm twisting to get me to come on. So just so yeah, I'm happy to be here.
Fantastic. Well, for all of our viewers out there, the cool part about a live stream is that you guide the conversation today. You have a ham radio operator expert on the show today. So what you want to know is what we want to know. So get on those chat lines. Maria will be manning the chats.
Just like this. I'll send them on the screen.
And
I think he's calling you a nerd.
You said that, not me. I just repeated it.
I'm coining a new phrase. This is going to be on Wired at some point. Deep nerd.
Right.
So, comment. Tell us what you guys want to talk about. Get your comments out here. And Maria and I are just going to queue up a couple of easy questions for Jason just to help warm everybody up. And as questions come in, we'll let you guys decide where we go. So, Jason, assume we're completely new to ham technology. Big assumption. But we're curious about it. We really want to know.
Yeah.
What do we need to know about ham radio technology as somebody who's coming in cold?
Okay, well, that's a long story. Basically, most of the time when I talk to people and they don't know that ham radio is still active, they're like, oh yeah, my grandfather used to have that big antenna in the backyard that he used to talk to Japan every morning. Is that what ham radio is? And I'm like, well, yes, that's part of it. That's definitely, I mean, there are a lot of people who do that. I've done that many times myself, but there's a lot more to it today than there was, back in the 50s and 60s, apparently. but ham radio has grown with technology and IT. There's a lot of IT professionals who are ham operators. I should say there's a lot of ham operators who are IT professionals. That's probably a better way to say it. But yeah, I mean, we've incorporated a lot of internet linking of repeaters and different modes and different kind of communication facets over the internet and over the Arden Mesh network, which I know we're going to talk about that later. So there's most of the time when you have guys working the big antennas that are talking to Japan, there's some kind of computer in the mix today running software that tells you certain things. And, it's really grown with technology the way that pretty much everything else has. There's more licensed amateur radio operators in the world today than there ever have been in the history of the hobby. So as a contrast to what most people think, it's actually bigger now than it ever has been. But just, with the oncoming of like the internet and smartphones and all this other stuff, it's not as I don't know what the word is. It's not like it's the only means of communication around the world as it was once upon a time, but it still does work, and there's a lot of people doing it, and there's a lot of new people coming into the hobby every year. So yeah, but it's don't feel bad that you didn't know about it or didn't know it was still active, because that's very common.
Are newbies welcomed with open arms, or is there any kind of hazing you have to do?
No, I mean, there's people. I'm in Texas, as you guys are.
I'm scared for that laugh. Yeah.
So, here down in Texas, we welcome people. It's very, very open. There's a lot of ham radio clubs in the North Texas area and in the Austin, Texas, and Houston and Galveston, Texas area that are very welcoming to new folks who come in and want to learn about the hobby.
Mm-hmm. Very cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And then how does they... there's an echoey sound in both Facebook and YouTube.
Yes, Tom said we might be having some audio issues.
We probably are. I'm going to turn my mic and see if I get that off. And let me double check. Thank you, Tom. You're going to help me make sure I keep this clean. I'm just double checking our tech settings. Tom, did that help moving our mics, or are we still getting an echo here?
No comment back yet.
No comment. All right, Tom, keep us in the loop as we get this echo worked out. There's nothing worse than an echoey show.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just double checking. I would teach me to not check the audio right before the show. I thought we had it all set up.
Right.
All right. So now ham radio technology, you're actually bouncing the signal off the atmosphere to get all the way around the world, right? Is that how ham gets so far? Because you think about it, from here to Japan, the straight line is through the Earth. You're definitely not getting radio signal that way. Are you?
Correct.
And it just bounces off the atmosphere to get that radio signal to bounce back down.
That's
pretty cool.
That's one way to do it. That's not the only way. There's skywave propagation, which is what you're talking about, and there's ground wave propagation that travels along the Earth. So it's not just one way to do it. People actually do moon bounce and satellites as well.
Moon bounce.
So
Holy
yeah, you can do it.
cow.
You can bounce a signal off of the moon. You can bounce signals off of like a meteor shower. I've never done that, but I've read about it. You can communicate directly with the guys on the International Space Station. Most of those guys up there are ham radio operators, and that's just straight. It has to be straight up, basically. It has to be overhead like a satellite. But yeah, you can do that as well. So it's just straight line of sight communication when you're talking with those guys. But yeah, what you're saying is correct. That's definitely one way to do it.
Very cool. So when you're talking to the space station, it's moving, right? I mean, that thing is moving. Do you only get a few minutes to talk to them where you can bounce a signal and you have to wait for a revolution to come back around?
Yeah, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a limited window. I don't know what the time frame is, but there is a limited window to it.
Okay, very cool. Well,
He did say we fixed the audio.
we fixed it. Hey, thanks, Tom. Appreciate it. Tom,
Good.
but just so you know, Jason, Tom is one of our loyal listeners. He's a fantastic guy. He's
Good.
always on the show, and we love having him on. Thank you, Tom. You're fantastic for coming on the show. So, do we have any good comments coming through on the lines yet?
Nothing yet.
Okay.
But I have a question for
Yeah,
you.
take it.
I read a little bit about
Sure.
your channel, watched a few videos, and from your channel, I learned that 7-3 means best
Mm-hmm.
regards or sincerely. I think 8-8 means like to send love or to an admirer.
Yeah.
What are some
Yeah.
other jargon or fun codes that you can share that wouldn't be
Oh,
diving
God.
in too deep?
There's a lot of them. There's what we call Q codes, which is like if you and I have a conversation over the air, we say we call it a QSO. If I say goodbye or I say I'm going off the air, it'll be QRT. So there's these Q codes that you send, and the way those came about were from way back in the day when Morse code was the most prevalent means of communication over amateur radio, which people still do a lot of Morse code today.
Really?
But
Never
it was
learned
easier.
sadly.
Yeah, I haven't either. I don't know Morse code, so you don't have to know Morse code to be a ham operator anymore like you used to.
Good to
But
know.
But that has grown also, even though they don't require it anymore. But the Q signals were a way to say an easier way to send 3 letters that meant a phrase rather than sending out that whole phrase, typing out that whole phrase in Morse code. That's where those came from. So those still exist today. There's like 40 of them. So, and I don't have them all memorized. I've got the most common ones memorized. But yeah, 7-3 is what we say when we say it basically means best wishes. 3 wishes, 7-3, so 73 best wishes, but just means farewell, goodbye. So
the
but yeah,
chat
there's a lot.
emoji did not start with cell phones. Let's clear this up, ladies and
There
gentlemen.
you go.
No.
The LOL did not start with a cell phone
Right.
text message. It started with these guys right here, the ham radio operators.
And then it looks like you did answer Tom in the middle, but he said, he asked, do you still need Morse code to get a license?
No, they took around 1991, 1992. They took away Morse code for one of the intro level. There used to be about 5 different classes of license. Today there's 3. And in 91 or 92, they took away the Morse code for the entry level license. So a lot of people, and you saw a really big rise in people getting licensed at that time, including myself, who I was licensed in 94. In 2006, they took away Morse code for all the other licenses. And somewhere around that same time, they changed it to 3 licenses instead of 5. So now you've got 3 classes of license, basically intro, intermediate, and expert. That's not what they're called. But none of them require Morse code. So
Very cool. I didn't even know that was a thing, Tom. Thanks for bringing in some history there, buddy.
Yeah,
that's some great history.
For sure.
And he also asks, oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I see you posted it on the screen there.
Yes.
All you have to do is it's a 30-question test, written multiple answer question test to get the first and the second license, and then the third license is like a 50-question test. So it's just a multiple answer test. It's just basic electronics theory that you have to. Well, the intro one is basic electronics theory, and there's some propagation and radio jargon that builds on top of those for the higher licenses. But yeah, it's just a question and answer test is all it is. So
are there any prep exams? I mean, the first
Yep.
reference I think of is SAT prep. So there are
Right.
prep exams that people can review.
There's a bunch of websites. There's apps on your phone that you can get that'll let you learn the questions. There's apps on your phone you can get to let you learn Morse code. There's a lot of, in the North Texas area, and I believe in other parts of the state too, but in the North Texas area, there's a lot of ham radio clubs that will give you a classroom class for free. And you'll sit down in front of an instructor, and it'll be a couple days, maybe 3 days, something like that, 3 evenings, or maybe a weekend. And they'll go through the book, and they'll do the question and answers, and they'll explain why the answer is what it is, and give you a little bit of background, so that you're not just memorizing questions and answers, but you're actually learning the material. So, and most of the time, those guys do that for free. It costs $15 to take the exam, which is a charge from the FCC. Or ARRL, one of them, but it's for exam prep to be sent in to the government and get your FCC license and get it back and all that kind of stuff. So it's just a paperwork exam, but it's only $15. And but most of the clubs will give you the actual study guide or the actual classroom learning for free.
That is very cool. That is really cool, Jason. Thanks for sharing, man.
Yep.
And so when you
Sure.
when you get it back after sending it, is that when you get your specific call sign? Or how is that
Correct.
assigned?
That is correct.
I need me
Yeah.
a call sign. I
I
need to
think
get one.
I think it'd be good to have a call sign.
Y'all would be good at it, I think. So yeah,
I don't know. I feel
y'all
like
could.
it'd be distracting.
Huh.
I would just
Well,
want to send
my
some
wife
jokes
says
or
it's very
something.
distracting. So yeah.
All right, so
So,
Tom,
yeah.
you do great. I love Tom. He's so awesome. He led right into this question: how
Right.
does PoE integrate with ham radio? And Jason, you brought it up to me from the perspective of the ArdNet mesh network. So, would you mind kind of outlining for us what that is? And I'm going to queue up the website so you can see what they're doing with the ArdNet mesh network when
Yeah.
you're talking about it.
Okay, so it's an acronym. They call it Arden, even though it's spelled Aredin, Aredn, which is an acronym for Amateur Radio Emergency Data Network. Basically, what it is, it's customized firmware that goes on devices similar to Ubiquiti was some of the first devices to come out. Now they've got integrated some MikroTiks, TP-Link devices, but there's probably 30, 40, 50 different devices where you can load this customized firmware onto a device like this, and you can put it up on a tower, on a building, on your home, whatever, and then it communicates via the Wi-Fi signal to other devices with the same firmware. It does not communicate with regular Wi-Fi networks. It's a specific network. So it's kind of like a subnet of the internet. Ham radio operators actually have privileges on the 2.4 gigahertz band outside of what's called the public Wi-Fi band. So we can, if you have a ham license and you get the firmware and load it on to one of these devices, you can go to frequencies that regular routers you go buy at Walmart don't go to.
Very cool.
So that, and what that does is it basically, it's what we call a noise floor. How much stuff there is on one channel. There's quite a bit on 2.4 public Wi-Fi, as you might imagine, because so many people use it. So basically, it doesn't eliminate it, but it severely degrades the amount of interference that our stuff has with regular Wi-Fi stuff. So, but all these devices run over PoE for the most part. And they're deployed a lot of times they're deployed in fields. They're deployed in places where there's no electricity, and they run on batteries and solar panels. And since it's very low power over Ethernet, doesn't require much, like big circuits and whatnot. So it makes it really easy to set up stuff like that.
Very cool. And we did. I'm just bringing this up. We actually did a show previously with a guy named Rob Rollo about solar, and that's very cool. And I think a lot of what Jason is talking about, Rob and I covered in this previous live stream. So go back and check on it. It was the Solar PoE live stream with Rob Rollo. And if you don't want to watch the whole thing, I'm still working on breaking it down into little subcuts, which are 3 to 5 minute question and answer deals, and we'll do the same thing with a conversation with Jason today, so that you can get that little cut of information. So, and I was surprised. There's this whole wireless internet network that's running around in the background for ham radio operators. What do you guys use this for?
Basically, the idea behind it is because there's a lot of guys. There's a lot of guys who get into ham radio because of storm watching. There's an institution called Skywarn, and storm chasers, and these kind of guys, they get into tornado chasing and whatnot. And I'm going a roundabout way to answer your question here. They get into it for storm chasing. When a storm comes up, for instance, let's just say Hurricane Katrina or Hurricane Harvey down in Texas, right? So when a storm comes up, a lot of times the internet will fail in that area for just either destruction or just overload. Like it'll be overloaded because there's so many people checking on their family down there or whatever. So this network was put up as a way for people to communicate outside of the internet in the instances that the internet is not available for whatever reason. I'm told that, I don't have the specific details behind this, but I'm told that when Hurricane Katrina devastated New Orleans, ham radio operators came in to the area and set up communication stations to send messages out of the area and back into the area because the cell networks were down, partially from destruction and partially from the fact that everybody's using them. A cell network, AT&T, Verizon, they're not really designed for every subscriber to dial a call on their phone at the same time. It would overload the network. It varies by area, but that's kind of the basic gist of it. So this network was put up for a background type thing to use in emergency situations that allow communication into and out of an area that needs it at the time.
Very cool. And is it a network that how if I'm a business, let's say PoE Texas. Now I doubt anybody would want me on this network in case of an emergency, but how do you get onto that network if I'm a business or an organization and I want to be involved in something like that?
You'd have to be a ham radio operator to get the firmware to load onto one of these devices. So you have to have a call sign. As far as a business goes, there's nothing necessarily wrong with a business being on there, but it's like we don't. Part of the stipulation behind the reason we're called amateur radio operators is because we don't allow, like the FCC doesn't allow business advertisements over the network. Mm-hmm. However, it's or over anything ham radio. But during these storms, the National Weather Service, a lot of those guys have ham licenses, and the National Weather Service is a business, and they're on there talking to us about the incident at the time. So if you guys had some sort of I don't know which I don't know all the ins and outs of your business, Tyler, but if you guys had some sort of stake in storm watching or storm spotting that you do when there's an active call out to say, hey, this place is needing this, and this right now, we're going to go help with that, then you could totally get on there. If you had a ham license, you could totally get on there and help out in that specific situation and represent yourself as, we're PoE Texas, we've set this up to do this and this and this, and this is what we're doing, that kind of thing. So, and there's, you had mentioned solar earlier. There's a lot of ham radio guys that are interested in multiple modes of alternative power, solar, wind power, that all that kind of good stuff. So there's a whole facet of ham radio operators that are into that know a lot more about it than I do, that are really heavily into solar type planning as well.
Very cool. Very cool. I was going to ask you, what is it that ham radio operators want to know? Because I'm assuming some of your guys are going to come over to the show and watch it today. And what do they want to know about Power over Ethernet? And, I'll do a quick summary here for you. Solar Power over Ethernet, you get a couple of different features. There are three main components to a solar network that you have to think about. And there are some very handy tools out there that you can use. The first is you got to think about your solar panels, obviously, and that's getting enough solar panel built out to gather the energy you need. You've got your batteries that'll store enough power to carry you over when the sun's not up, and I'm sure most guys know about this. And then you've got to have a charge controller that's managing the communication between the two and then providing power to whatever you want to power with it. And so you got to have those three main elements. Now, the nice part is there are guys out there like Solar Flexion. I'm just drawing a blank right now. I have their equipment sitting out front.
Oh, Sunwise?
Sunwise. They even have Sunwise. Sorry, guys. Larry's going to kill me.
It's okay. I helped him, Larry. It's okay.
So they've even got an online tool that what's really cool about it is you can put in like your zip code or your geographic location, and they'll actually help you size your battery and your power pack based on years and years of statistics. So it really helps to simplify it and tell you this is how much power you need, this is where you need it, and I think it's a very cool tool.
That's kind of fun.
Yeah. And a couple of notes, guys. How much voltage you get out depends on how you arrange your batteries, and the type of charge controller you get. Jason, I bet I'm telling you all this stuff, and you're like, I know all this.
I know the basics, so now you probably know more than I do, though.
Well, most batteries go on a 12-volt step, and so you can do 12, or you can put 2 batteries in series to get 24. You could put 4 in series to get 48. But here's an important note that many people might not know. Just because it says 12 or 24 volts, nominal. Those batteries will range anywhere from as low as like 12 volts up to 30 volts. And you want to be careful with your equipment. So a lot of the products, the good solar PoE products, will actually regulate that and take in anywhere from like 12 to 30 or 48 and regulate it right to 24 for your network. So you want to look for that and make sure you're getting something with a regulated supply. And we have a couple of products that do that for us, our GPOE 24V10W, our GPOE 48V10W. They take an unregulated source and convert it in a regulated so it could power, this is my board of configuration, they could power the nano beam or a 24 volt passive device with, boom, 24 volts. And so your device isn't experiencing that range of power as it goes up and down. So, sorry, I waxed poetic and long on that.
Oh, excuse me. We have a new viewer today, Brett Saunders or Sanders. He says, we use Arden to send live streaming video, make VoIP calls, send email, etc., day-to-day stuff, and all of the camera's phones are PoE powered.
That is very cool, Brett. Brett, do you mind if I ask you, what's the application? Like Jason was saying, it's not really the place for people to come and do commercial and business and try and sell services and everything. So I'm curious about the application, why you're using the network and what it's valuable for. So let us know in the comments.
And it looks like Tom also had a comment for the ham operators he knows consider themselves to be part of that large family that they're there to help people in need.
That's
So some
fantastic.
emergency situations.
You know, I'm thinking that for the guys who do internet service providers, this would be a fantastic secondary thing for them to have, like Jason is talking about, in case of an emergency. You've got your network up. These guys already have their radios up, being able to turn it on, have a guy on staff who's a ham operator, and being able to help out in emergencies. I can only imagine the kind of good press you could get being able to, not from it's not like you're sending out advertisements, but a tornado blows through your area, boom, you could turn on, you can get your network up, get communicating, get emergency services to your customers in the area you're servicing. I imagine that would be a very valuable service that a lot of people would feel some confidence knowing that their service provider is willing and able to do that for them.
I agree.
All right, what do you got here? We got Orv Beach.
Yes. So he says, working on building a ham radio network using Arden firmware. Every hilltop site has a PTZ camera that's PoE powered. And then they have about 400 nodes in Southern California.
Southern California,
So,
very
yeah,
cool.
there's a really big network of Arden nodes in California.
Very cool.
So,
I imagine that's really big with the fire problem, being able to, because with
Yep.
those, you could tell people, don't take this road to evacuate, or it's coming your direction or not.
That's true. And then Brett said regarding his application, primarily set up for emergency communications in conjunction with their local city agencies.
That is very cool, Brett. Yeah, this sounds like that's the application. So, Brett, where are you hailing from? We're just out of curiosity. So, that is very cool. And I'm interested. Do you guys use it for that fire application? Is that what you guys are doing with it, or do you have another application? What's really cool is this is really educational, and I think a lot of the guys who do wireless internet service providing and guys who are doing PoE really value finding out about this. You're in Irvine.
Yep, Irvine,
Excellent.
California.
Irvine. Very cool. And I love the avatar, man. There's a Simpsons avatar generator out there.
There's got to be. I see them all the time.
Very cool. Well, Jason, what else do ham operators want to know about Power over Ethernet?
Well, you brought up a good point about the whole solar thing. I would imagine there's a lot of solar applications. That's something that you and I didn't talk about previously, but the main thing is going to be the Arden network. The Arden network has been around for 2 or 3, maybe 4 years, something like that. And there was another project that started previous to that called Broadband Hamnet. It's called BBHN. and then it was kind of in its infancy. And I think those guys are still around. And in fact, there's a lot of videos out there that tell you how to connect this network to that network. But the Arden network is unique in the fact that it several of their bands go into the ham only frequencies on 2.4 or 3 gigahertz, 5 gigahertz, and they can be outside of the public sector. Since ham radio operators have privileges there. But since there's like down there in Southern California, as my understanding is that a lot of those sites are on the top of a hill or on on a cliff overlooking a certain area, and there's no electricity out there, so they're all solar paneled with PoE running to the actual nodes and that kind of thing. Something he talked about that he's talking about right there about recent brush files from ham radio cameras. About 2 or 3 years ago, there was a tornado come through South DFW area, down around Mansfield area, and the Mansfield Club, Mansfield Johnson County Amateur Radio Service down there. They have a PTZ camera, which is of course on the Arden mesh, powered up by power over Ethernet. They have one on top of the water tower down there, and it was nighttime, so it was kind of hard to see, but they were able to get the tornado coming through that area because it was on top of the water tower, 150 feet in the air overlooking the city. And you could see the tornado kind of moving through whichever direction it was going. I don't remember. But there's like the National Weather Service was on there, and they're like, hey guys, check out this link. This is where the tornado is right now. We can see it. And then they posted on Facebook later, and they said, how cool is Arden mesh networking because of this? So I imagine that type of thing probably happens a lot in other areas, but that's the one that I specifically know about.
Well, how do we help? And Brett and Orv, you guys are great contributors. I love the feedback and what you guys are talking about. This is very cool. And it sounds like you guys down in Southern California have some really cool things going on. The guys out in Johnson County are doing some really cool things. How do we, maybe I'm just curious, and we're talking about earthquakes too. So I'm hearing a lot about emergency response, emergency services, being able to do that. Obviously, that's in the name. How do I jump in? How do we contribute? What do we need to do to help contribute to the network, to expand it, to improve on it? How do we get involved? And I'm asking you guys out. I'm asking the guys out who are doing the chats, and I'm asking you, Jason. So you go for it, buddy.
Right.
I want to get your opinion, but Brett or give us your input. We'd love to know more.
Yeah. The best way I can, Tyler, I think you and I had talked about a device that would power multiple nodes at once. So like most of these Ubiquiti devices come with a PoE injector that has a PoE port and a LAN port. Some of them don't even have LAN ports. So I would imagine that if you're going to be powering multiple devices, maybe on different bands, maybe pointed in different directions or something like that from a specific location, it would be easier to have a PoE device that would power a router and a sector antenna and maybe maybe a solar. I don't know if you can power a solar controller or something like that over Ethernet or not, but something that would be like a multiple device powered thing to where you just have the one plug that goes into the battery and you're done. Because right now I'm not aware of any devices like that. I've never used any devices like that myself. I just use the ones that actually come with the Ubiquiti nodes. All the nodes I have right now are Ubiquiti. And I would imagine that some kind of distribution block that would power multiple devices would be very beneficial.
Very cool. Well, okay, Jason, thank you. You kind of teed me up on that, and this is like the paid programming portion of our show.
How we get to keep coming back.
Why we get to keep coming back is because we do talk about our products a little bit, and you brought up a very good point, and that is actually that topic I prepared for it because I knew we had talked about it in the past. How we accomplish that. So the first one that I'll bring up, and I'm going to apologize, I'm going to swing over here to our training window, and I am going to bring up the image on our GPOE 2B. So that's going to be 16. Here we are. Nope, there's wrong. We'll go 18. There we are. So the first one is we have a product that allows you to connect two devices together with one power source, and it's called the GPoE2B. So imagine that little one-piece unit that you use that instead of having two of them, you can combine them together, and you just need one with one power supply, and then it connects the data line between them. It's less than $10 to get the part, and it's a really convenient device that allows you to connect two things together. Then once you've gone beyond two, the next step is to step up to our switches. So I'm going to swing around, hopefully, see if I can get it. Now, my board of configuration has come apart during the show. It happened like really early on. But the key is that what not a lot of people know is that a lot of our switches, and I'm going to change my camera settings here. Most all of our switches operate as either PoE powered or PoE switches. So what you're talking about, Jason, would be like a switch being able to combine the two of them and connect the two. A PoE switch works in that application, and we have PoE switches for passive 24 volts, and we have PoE switches that do traditional IEEE standard PoE. And I know Ubiquiti is going that direction, Microtik are going that direction, so they go back and forth. So the simple answer is something like our, I'm going to bring this up, I'm showing our EX2005, and we have a 2005 managed version of it as well. These are switches that allow you can take PoE in if you would like, and you can put PoE out on multiple ports, and they give you a lot of flexibility in choosing. So the answer is yes, you can get out there, you can do multiple ports on one device and be able to get a much broader stream. So when we did the solar channel, a lot of guys were talking about that and how to accomplish it. So I thought that was very cool. So I'll just bring up my little title here to make sure we're talking about this guy here. I'm going to turn off my video, and I'm going to bring it back to Jason because he's a much better face to look at. He's so handsome with that hat. But yes, the GPoES, our GPoES series of switches, and the GPoE2B built just for this application for radios, and I think that is a very cool. I like it personally. I think it's exciting.
I think it's exciting too.
All right. Well, I'm seeing some stuff come through from our audience. What do you guys have to say?
Yes. Well, I do want to add Tom's first, just because I also agree. He said he wants to learn about ham radios to be prepared for the zombie invasion. That's one of the first things that came to mind. I don't know if I'm a millennial, but
yeah.
that came to mind too.
You want to be zombie preparation.
Yeah. Otherwise, I'd be kind of screwed. But Orv did add some feedback as well. He said another application they have for ham radio network is Team Talk, which is a chat server, which is very cool to know. They have a weekly voice net using it on ham radio digital network.
Very cool. And Team Talk. So, Orv, what is Team Talk? Send us a little bit of information. Do you know about it, Jason?
I have not heard of Team Talk. No, not being used on. No, I haven't heard of that one. We do incorporate one out here called Mesh Chat, but it's just straight real-time chat. It's not a voice talk like what he's describing. So, no, I'd be interested in learning about that myself.
Okay.
And then Brett has something to say. He said one of the challenges they have with setting up these nodes is varying PoE requirements or protocols. Their phones use 48, Ubiquiti uses 24. There are different passive 12-volt cameras, etc. So looks like some compatibility mix-ups.
Yeah, Brett, I've got that one for you too. So I'm glad you're asking about it. I'm going to try and bring it up on our website here. We have a whole series of splitters and adapters that can convert PoE for you. So if it's all right, Jason, I'm going to show your face here while I bring this up.
Okay.
Wham, get this over there. All right, so we're on our website, and we're going to come over here to, for example, I'm going to bring us over to the GPoE 48V10W. What this device does for you is it actually, we have one for 24 and 48. These convert 12 to 30 volts and 12 to 30 volts to either 48 volts or 24 volts. So if I have an IP camera or a VoIP phone that you need different voltage, you can use this to convert the passive PoE from Ubiquiti into 48 volts, and it's a very convenient tool that does that. And if you're doing it the other way around, we have something called the GAT 24V25W. What that'll do is that'll convert traditional PoE into 24 volt passive PoE. So yeah, it is. It does make it harder, but these dongles and these devices do quick conversions for you back and forth. You could choose whichever way you want to go. Now I'll just kind of. Everybody's gonna hit me. The team says this is the moment. This is the moment when I reveal on live YouTube stream about products that are coming down the pipeline.
Oh yeah, I'm not prepared for this, guys.
That the team hates when I do this, because then everybody's calling and saying, well, what's the deal with this? We are working on a mid-span. It will be a little mid-span device for internet service providers that will be 24 volt. You can configure, you can decide with just a setting whether you want 24 volt or whether you want 48 volt PoE. So that is coming down the pipeline. I think you can expect that pretty soon. But yeah, that's so those are a couple of the options. Brett, did I understand the question you're looking for? If not, let me know. I want to know what you guys are looking for, because I know what you guys are looking for. I know a lot of people out there are interested in. They have questions about this. The difference between the 24 volt and the 48 volt standard of PoE is an interesting one, and one we like to deal with because we specialize in that gap, that space.
So Orv chimed in with what Team Talk is. It looks like him and Jason are commenting a little bit back and forth. But it's a server that supports voice, video, file storage, and desktop sharing. They've had up to 8 simultaneous video streams on it. Oh, that's awesome.
That is very cool.
And also, he's joining us from Simi Valley, California.
Simi Valley, California. Okay.
Yes.
Sounds like you guys out in California are doing some very cool things.
He said it also runs great on our Pis.
Raspberry Pis. Ah, well, that was a good question. So I'll point this out. It's hard to see right now because the screen just turned off. But this is the new Raspberry Pi 3D Pluses now can actually take what's called a PoE hat. Let me see if I can zoom into that. This is a Raspberry Pi 3D Plus with our new Pi hat. So we have a new Raspberry Pi hat that's coming out here in the next 2 or 3 weeks, I think, is when it's already up, ready to list. We're just waiting for it to hit our dock, and then it'll be able to come out. And what this guy does is it converts, it lets you plug it PoE into the network port, and then it converts it into the power for the Pi board. Now, this is for traditional IEEE 802.38F PoE, so it wouldn't work on your Ubiquiti injector. But come back and let us know. If there are enough guys out there who are saying, yes, I want this on 24 volts, we could definitely run this on 24 volts. There's no reason why we couldn't, so you could still use 24 volts. Or we could even, if you guys said, do it, here's the challenge. This would be very cool. Okay, now right live here, I'm coming up with a new product for you guys. It would be 12 to 30 volts, so you could just plug this guy into your car. You know, Jason's talked about plugging it into his truck. You could do 12 to 30 volts. It would work with solar. It would work with anything else, and it would give you that regulated 5 volts. Because that, you know, our Raspberry Pis, of all devices that are really critical about their regulated power source. So how about the solar Pi hat? All right, ladies and gentlemen. There you have it right here, right now. New product. You're going to get the solar Pi hat, whether you like it or not. All right,
I think
I'll bring
that would
Maria
be
back.
great.
All right, man.
The question did not load.
Go ahead, Maria. Let's get that up there.
Yeah, it looks like it might have a loading issue, but I'll ask it while it works on getting up there. Tom Willis wants to know that he was not aware of the use of video in ham networks. Is that common?
Yes, it's common in ham radio, not necessarily in networks. There's a thing called amateur television that's been around for years and years. These days, there's a digital amateur television, and it's basically sending either still images or streaming video over the air rather than over a phone line, rather than over the internet. You can send it over the air from one radio to another, and there's a lot of guys who do that. But yeah, you can do. I mean, a lot of these PTZ cameras that are added to the Arden Mesh network are on top of some kind of tall structure like a water tower or a building or something to watch for storms and whatnot that come through the area, or earthquakes and fires like they have in California. We don't have many earthquakes out here in Texas, but but yeah, I mean that's that's what they're used for. Most of the video streaming over the Arden Mesh is used for some sort of weather or natural disaster type monitoring. So, but yeah, you can do video chat over ham radio. It's a pretty common practice, called amateur television. So it's works well.
Television. There you go.
Makes me want to go back and watch Twister.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
You're an old school.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And they make fun of me because I got my Star Wars posters up. But Twister, come on.
Yeah, they're different kinds of movies.
That is true.
So I know HamCom 2019 happened in Plano, beginning of
Yes.
June. What were some of your takeaways for any viewers who might not have gone? Well, we didn't attend, but what are some of your takeaways?
We didn't have the Arden group, who will attend a lot of these shows. They did not attend that show this year. I think they had a conflict. But the previous month, in May of this year, well, May of every year, is the largest ham fest, which a ham fest is a festival of ham radio operators, and there's all kinds of stuff there. The largest one in the world, really, is in Dayton, Ohio, every year. And I've been to it the last 4 or 5 years in a row. And Arden had a really big presence at that show in Dayton, second or third weekend in May. And they bring like the whole shooting match out there. They bring a crank up tower that they put a PTZ camera on, and they'll lift it up and they'll video stream the actual outdoor activities during the show. And then they do small presentations about asterisk servers and different things you can do over the mesh network and how to get set up and going, how to flash your firmware onto a new device, that kind of thing. And they talk about PoE quite a bit, because all these devices are powered by PoE. But they have a really big presence at that show every year. So I'm kind of trying to twist their arm and get them to come back to HamCom, because HamCom's the biggest show in Texas, but it's a tenth of the size of the one in Dayton, Ohio. So, but it is growing. We had a record number of sales this year at the HamCom in Texas. So I expect it will be even bigger next year. So it's a really fun time to get together with everybody and talk about just whatever's new. That's where you see whatever's new is always debuted at Dayton every year. And then like a month later, a lot of the guys will come to HamCom in Texas and do the same types of presentations again for people who can't travel to Dayton. So it's a fun time.
That's awesome.
That is very
There you go,
cool.
guys. Go to HamCom and HamFest and go talk to Jason in person.
Right.
So Tom just says, thank you. He said he's a very old man. So most of his knowledge is from many years ago. We're happy to have you either way, Tom.
But actually, I think it's impressive. Tom gets out there. I see him on other chats. He is very active online, and I think that's an impressive. That says a lot about you, Tom. That you're not some teenager just playing on your phone. And so I think that's an impressive thing. Keeping up with technology, being willing to learn and to grow.
Oh yeah,
very impressive.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
All right. Well, guys, what else do you want to know from Jason and myself? Like, what questions do you have for Power over Ethernet? What is really interesting for you to know about? You got some really smart guys here. We can answer questions about Power over Ethernet. We can answer questions about ham radios, and we can answer any questions about life. Maria has a lot of good life advice and your horoscope information. So.
Yeah, retrograde.
And share with us your knowledge. You know, it's another thing that I learned from these shows. Like we talked about, I had never considered doing the Solar Pie hat.
That's
But
true.
we learn and we all gain from these shows and collaborating as a community. That's why communities work. And I imagine that's what makes the ham community so exciting is that it's the kind of thing where you can get involved, you can talk to people. And so what I'll do is I'll actually bring this up again. We got Jason's, while we're waiting, Jason. This is Jason's Twitter handle and his show on YouTube, which is just Ham Radio 2.0. Subscribe. Go check out his shows. I get a lot from his shows when I watch his shows. And I really, it's been an education for me, obviously, learning about ham radio, learning about ArdNet, learning what you guys are doing. And it's exciting and it's fun stuff. So go subscribe. And I'll give this plug because usually I give it at the end. Jason doesn't have a business. He does this for the love and the passion of it, and the way that he keeps doing this and is able to be a resource for you out there is he does do Patreon. And Patreon, for those of you who don't know, is a way you can contribute to artists and professionals like Jason or non-professionals like Jason who are creating something for you for free. You can contribute to it and help make his show more possible. Help him bring you more.
All the content that you want to see.
Exactly. So donate, make time to go check out his show, make time to check out his store, and make his show something that you do because I really enjoy it. All right, we got a question from our good friend Tom.
Yes, so he said actually he did not expect to learn anything on the show today, but is very surprised by what he did learn. So thank you for the show today and all the information. Well, thank you for being a viewer, Tom.
All right.
I'm interested in knowing. Oh, sorry.
Go for it, Maria. You have a question.
I know that you mentioned on, Jason does it, is for the passion, the hobby, aspect of it. Do you come across a lot of ham users that do it mainly for the hobby and just for the love of it, or is it some day-to-day operations use?
Well, there's both. A lot of the most people do it as a hobby, and in its infancy, that's what it was. It's again, that's why it's called amateur radio. But there's a lot of ham radio clubs that are out there today that do it as like a community service rather than just a hobby. Some clubs will call themselves a service rather than a club. But they do it as a community service to the city or the county they're in for storm watching, for emergency communications, and for whatever may come about in their specific area. So there's people out there that do it just for that reason as well. So it's kind of like a multifaceted answer to your question, I guess.
What got you into it specifically?
I've always been interested in two-way radio communication. I used to do, back when I was in high school, I used to do CB. Most ham operators will tell you at one point in time they did CB. A lot of them don't like to admit it, but but a lot of them did CB. But I was always interested, fascinated by the whole communicate without wires thing. There's ham radio operators that go on what's called SOTA expeditions, SOTA, which is a Summit on the Air, is what that's an acronym for. And they'll take a radio that's about the size of a pack of cards or maybe a double pack of cards, playing cards, that runs on a 12 volt or 9 or like a AA or 9 volt battery. And they'll take a wire and they'll travel up to a summit on a hilltop or a mountain somewhere, and they'll set up and they'll operate, and it's completely independent of anything. It's all battery powered. Sometimes they'll take a small solar panel with them. But it doesn't require phone lines. It doesn't require electricity. It doesn't require, anything kind of infrastructure like that. So I've always been kind of fascinated in that. That's really what got me into it.
There you go. It's your own spirit walk to go out there and experience.
Right. Yeah.
And talk to people. You go to the top of the mountain to connect. That's very zen there, right, man? That is
right.
You learned another thing, Tom. It's zen to be a radio operator. You travel to the top of the mountain to connect with the people around you.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's a good way to put it.
Oh, there you go, Tom. He said he still remembers his CB license number. He's unashamed.
Yeah,
there you go.
Well, guys, this has been a great show. And Jason, you have been an excellent, excellent guest on the show. Any last
Thank you.
comments, feedback, or questions for us today?
Not right now. I don't think. What I'm going to do is I shared this link right before the video started in the Arden. There's a Facebook group about just called Arden, AREDN, where you can learn about mesh networking, and they may ask you your call sign if you join the group, but if you just put in there, I'm still wanting to get my call sign, then they'll let you in there. But they're happy to answer questions. So I'll make sure that the guys in that group watch this video, and if they have any questions or anything, say, oh, what about this and this and this? Maybe we can do a follow-up in a couple of months, Tyler, because that'd be a fun thing as well.
We should. Maybe we can get the guys from Arden to come on the show with us, and we can all talk about what you guys are doing. I think that is a very exciting opportunity. So thanks for the suggestion. Got another
Absolutely.
thing out of this.
Definitely.
All right, and I'm just bringing up the title. So everybody, remember, subscribe to Jason. Go to his YouTube channel. Learn about Ham Radio 2.0. Jason, thank you so much for being on the show. We're going to do a quick wrap up and then send everybody on with their day. So with that, here we go. I'm going to flip us over to our main screen. So thank you all for coming for the show today. Jason was a great guest, and we all learned so much. Orv, Brett, Tom, thanks for coming on the show and commenting. We love to get your comments. We love interacting with you guys, and we learned so much. So before we wrap up, though, Maria has two special announcements for us.
I do, yes. So we'll start off with Prime Day, because I know all y'all are going to, prepare for shopping with the holiday coming up this week. So we are going to be running some Prime Day deals on our Amazon store. Specifically, we are offering you guys a 25% off coupon code. I believe we have it on the screen right here. Yes, so it will be for two of our products specifically. Our PoE detector, which is a very quick way to see what type of PoE you have on your line. And then also one of our single port injector kits, the GPoE1, which is a mode B with a 48 volt, 15 watt power supply. So your code will be 25 Prime PoE. It will be live July 15th through the 21st. So get those items on, on your, your wish list, get them in your cart, save them for checkout. That code is available for you guys. And then the big announcement we have will be our user group. So I know we touched base a little bit. Tyler kind of leaked a spoiler in previous shows. But the something is my baby. We're working on it. But there's interaction that you guys can start before you, if you want to join, feel free. I'll link it down below. But we're letting you guys choose the name for it. So we have a poll right now live. It ends in 2 weeks, I believe. Yes. July 15th it ends. So you guys get to pick the name of the group. Right now it's pretty standard. It's just the PoE user group. But we want you all to get some interaction as well before you join. So here are the 4 options we have. PoE Connect is one option. Milliway's PoE Hangout, which I believe is a reference to Star Trek.
No. That's going back to the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
I got it
so
wrong.
That's nerdy, man. I'm deep nerd, baby.
And then the other option is wire powered, and the last one being Power Up PoE. I'll link the poll in the survey down below here in a few minutes. But there are there's 2 posts for you all to check out. It's on our PoE Texas page, also in the user group. So if you're already a member, put your vote in. If you're not, just visit our page. You'll have the link to join. We also have it on LinkedIn as well, so where the name is for both. So yeah, give us your input. If you have a comment you want to give another option in the ring, feel free, leave us a comment. But the poll and the name is up to you. So let us know what you think. We're excited to have that poll open for 2 weeks to see which one. There's already some votes. So
Good.
we're excited. Let us know, guys. And I will link the join option below as well. That way y'all can start getting some feedback, interact with me, keep the conversation going. Tyler as well. So we're excited for it.
All right. And then I have one final announcement, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to bring this up really quickly here. The results of the YouTube challenge.
Oh, yeah.
So we had a YouTube challenge for a YouTube challenge here. Let me see if I can bring this up. Sorry, Maria, that's over you.
It's okay.
Our YouTube challenge winner is Mike from Lumens.
Yes.
Mike and I did the Bean Boozled challenge, And both Mike and I were right at the edge of just blowing cookies everywhere because it was bad. We got some really bad ones. But congratulations to Mike and the Lumens team. If you haven't watched our Infocom challenge, go ahead and do it. You can see it right here. Just go to our YouTube channel and you'll see the Infocom 2019 challenge. You get to see us doing some crazy things while learning about some very interesting companies at Infocom. So congratulations and shout out to Mike and the Lumens team. So thank you all for coming. We really appreciate it. You guys make this show what it is, and we love doing it for you.
We do.
So with that, let's just wrap it up for the day and wish everybody a happy day.
We'll sign off for this Tuesday.
Sign off. I don't have a cool call sign, but you know, I wish I had, you know.
What is it? 7-3, guys. 7-3.
Oh, 7-3, 7-3. We love you guys. All right, let's wrap it up. That was a good show today. We got some really good comments. I really loved the show. Man, the ArtNet technology, that sounds really cool, and I would not have expected to learn about that, but I do think that it's a real game changer for people.
It seems like it's used a lot.
Yeah. All right, well, we're going to turn off this stream. Thanks for coming, everybody.
Thank you.